Hi everybody, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am doing my August wrap up. It was a very good reading month for me. I read 5 books physically, 6 audio, and I'm just loving my life right now. So let's go ahead and get into the books. The first book that I read this month was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. This took me a while to read. Like, I was really waiting for the hype to die down on it, but I finally got to it, and I gotta say, I loved it. It wasn't quite a 5-star read for me. It was a 4.5. But I really did enjoy this. I'm a little upset with myself that I waited as long as I did to read it. If you didn't know, this follows Evelyn Hugo, who is a massive movie star, and she is having an interview when she is elderly, going into the secrets of the start and end of her 7 marriages, which is basically her life story. It was very intriguing. I haven't posted a review on this yet because I buddy read this with my sister and she hasn't completed it yet, so I don't want to post a review and spoil anything for her, so I'm holding off on posting that video, but it is coming and I really hope you guys enjoy this one. The next book that I read this month was The It Girl by Ruth Ware. Ruth Ware is my girl. She is an awesome thriller writer. She is great with twists. She has been referred to as this generation's Agatha Christie. I don't personally really like that description because I feel like it's diminishing her own work by comparing her to another writer, and it kind of cheapens Agatha Christie's work as well. They are 2 separate entities. They have 2 different writing styles. However, I do see where people can draw parallels, and that is very apparent with The It Girl. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because I've already posted a full review for it. If you haven't seen that, go and check it out. But basically this follows a group of friends in present day and in the past tense. So we go back and forth between 2 timelines, piecing together one of their friends who was murdered when they were in university, and whether or not the right person was put away for the job. And that is all that I am going to say about it. But I loved this book. It was a 5-star read. I know Ruth Ware is somebody that is kind of divisive. Some people either love her or hate her. But I personally have always really enjoyed her. So I think my least favorite was 1 by 1, which was the last one that she had come out. This was definitely a step up from that. So The It Girl, pick it up if you haven't read it. It's amazing. The next book that I read, Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. All right, let's talk about Daisy Darker. Wow. I don't even know where to start with this one. This is a slasher type of style, which I was not expecting based on the other 2 books that I had read by Alice Feeney. But she did it in such a way that was extremely intriguing. We follow a family who are getting together for Nana's 80th birthday, and she kind of lives in this like gothic type house on a island that cannot be accessed after high tide. So it's very isolated, and once the tide comes in, people start to die, and it is basically a 1 person per hour. So we're trying to figure out who is doing this and why. And so it's a whodunit. It's isolated, and it's got like 3 major twists in it towards the end. One of them I saw coming early on, but I changed my mind, and I shouldn't have changed my mind. And the other two I didn't guess at all. So she did a relatively good job with that. I'm still in shock by this book. I will say it was a little bit of a slow starter. So for those of you that don't like slow books, you're probably gonna not enjoy maybe the first 30% of it, but just hold on to that point because it picks up and it gets really, really, really good. And this is a 4-star. Loved it. Check it out if you haven't already. The next book that I read this month was The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell. This is the sequel to The Family Upstairs, which I did a review for a couple of years ago. And now we're following with the aftermath of the family and everything that has happened since then. This one's really, really hard to describe without giving away any spoilers. But there is like a mystery that's attached to the house that has been bringing everything back to light. Some bones were found, and now there's a police investigation, and the family is being drawn more in, and they're being looked at a little bit more closely. That's all I really feel comfortable saying about it. I didn't love this one. It was good, but I didn't really feel like it was needed. The Family Upstairs, the way that it was written, was very concise, and I felt like everything was pretty much taken care of within that story. I don't really feel like this was needed. I think that she did it probably because the other one was so popular, and it's just kind of a throwback to the fans. It was well written, as her works always are, but I just didn't feel as attached to this one as I did to the other one. The next book that I read this month, I was diving into a new author for the first time, somebody that I have seen quite a bit and wanted to test the waters with, and that was Darcy Coates. I see her recommended a lot in the horror world, and I always see her on the shelves in the horror section in the bookstores. So I've been wanting to try her for a while, but I wasn't sure where to start. But I ended up going in and getting one at random, and I chose Craven Manor. And I'm still kind of confused. Not that this was a hard story to follow. I'm more confused on the fact of I don't think this was the right book for me to start with. But I am intrigued by picking up more of her books. In this story, we follow a protagonist named Daniel, who is very down on his luck. He has been homeless for a relatively large amount of time. He gets taken in by his cousin, who's kind of verbally abusive, very manipulative. And he gets a note underneath his door one day that says, "Come and be a groundskeeper at Craven Manor," and it gives him directions, and he decides to go out there and see what this job is about. And he's only being communicated with via letters. And when he gets to the manor, it's like tells him basically what his job would entail, and that there's all these weird rules that he has to follow. Like he can't have anybody out to the manor. He can't leave the cottage that's in the back between midnight and dawn, and just really strange things like that. And so it's like it was creepy. So the positives, I would say, this is very, very quick paced. It's very easy to get through. You can read it relatively fast. She's very good at building atmosphere. It's like I could see the manor in my mind's eye. Like it was very atmospheric. And dialogue was very realistic and it flowed naturally. So it's like those aspects of it I really, really liked. But the main character, he is a likable person, likable personality, but he makes so many stupid decisions and he comes across as very moronic, and it kind of takes me out of it because it's like I don't mind having characters that are like that in a book, but when it's the main character, it's the person whose head that I am in the entire time, then it starts to annoy me. Because it's like, okay, well, why are you making that decision? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? That's stupid. Don't do that. And this happened a lot with him. It's like the first couple of times, you know, you could overlook it because he doesn't really know what's going on. But once you reach a certain point, it's makes it hard to root for him because it almost feels like he's asking for anything that happens. I do want to try more Darcy coats because, like I said, there were a lot of elements to this I did enjoy, but it kind of fell flat for me overall. So I do want to try another one. So if you guys know of one you think that I might like a little bit better, please leave it in the comments down below. Tell me where to start next because I really want to give her another shot. I just feel like I picked up the wrong one to start with. The next book that I read this month was The Night Swim by Megan Goldin. And I gotta tell you, this one really, really blew my mind. I had only read one Megan Goldin before, and that was The Escape Room, and that one had left me completely underwhelmed, but The Night Swim made up for it. I read it on Kindle Unlimited, and it was just such a brilliant, sad story. So it's like we're following two stories pretty much. We're following a reporter named Rachel who has been getting these mysterious letters wanting her to investigate this woman's sister's murder, but she's being very, very evasive about, meeting with her personally, and she's just telling her, like, my sister died, and these were the circumstances, and it was like 25 years before, and she wants her to investigate it because she has a true crime podcast where she delves into, like, cases and stuff, and she literally is known for putting her listeners in the jury box and letting them come to their own conclusions. So, this death was never solved, and Rachel does feel drawn to this girl's story, but it's like at the same time she can't help but be a little put off by the fact that she's only sending her letters and she's not agreeing to meet with her in person. So she's like, is her story credible? But at the same time, she is intrigued by it, and she can't help but wonder how much truth there is to it. And this is happening while she is in this town that this death happened in. She's in this town following a jury case for a sexual assault. And she's like uploading daily from the trial on the podcast. So it's like she's trying to do that. And she's looking into the death of this girl. And it's very, very, very sad. I almost cried a couple of times. It was very, very moving, and I feel like this is the type of thing where Megan Goldin really shines because her writing in this book was absolutely superb. There is a lot of talk of sexual assault and violence, though, so if that is a trigger for you, be aware of that going in. But it's an amazing book, and I very, very highly recommend that you pick it up. The next book that I read this month was The Mysterious Mr. Quinn by Agatha Christie. I have recently started getting on an Agatha Christie kick. I'm really, really enjoying her mysteries. This one, I wasn't crazy about. It was more like the investigator himself, Mr. Harley Quinn. I just wasn't. I didn't like being inside of his head. I'm not sure how many of her books follow him. I'm hoping that it's not too many because I might want to skip those. It's just this story fell flat for me. Her writing was excellent, but it's just the characters, particularly him, and I couldn't do it. I really, really could not get into it. The next book that I read this month was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, which is a contemporary romance. It's the sequel to It Happened One Summer, and in this one we are following Hannah, and Fox. Hannah has come back to this little town, Westport, to shoot a movie. She's working on the soundtrack, and she's convinced the producers to film there so that she can see her sister, and she starts this romance with Fox. And I really, really am enjoying these books. I didn't expect to, but both of them I just have completely enjoyed. They're not great literature by any means, but they really just spoke to me and made me laugh, and it's a good way. They're really good ways to uplift your spirits if you're feeling down. So I highly recommend checking those out, and I'm interested to try more Tessa Bailey myself. Those are the only two that I've read. Like I said, I really liked both of them. So if you have any more recommendations for her, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. The next book that I read this month was Breakfast at the Beach House Hotel. This was so much fun. I found it on Kindle Unlimited, and I had never heard of it before, but I was just breezing through, and the title jumped out at me, so I gave that one a shot, and I just thought that it was so funny. It's basically these two women who are kind of unlikely types of friends that come from different backgrounds, but their daughters are roommates in college, and so they kind of became friends by association. And after our main character Anne's divorce, she ends up moving in with the other woman, Rhonda, who has like this big house and property and everything that she has bought, and they want to convert it into a hotel, and it ends up being like a big deal. I thought that the way that it showed them opening up the business and everything was done very, very well. The characters were enjoyable. It's like the bad characters, you hated them. The good characters, you loved them. There were all these little quirks that were so much fun. I think there's a few more in the series. I'm not sure how many of them I'm going to read because it wasn't a 5-star, but it was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. So yeah, go ahead and take a look at that if you haven't already, because it's very fun. I did find some errors in it that kind of took me out of this story a little bit because if you didn't know, I am a writer myself, and those types of things do stick out to me like a sore thumb. And I found like more than one, so I was just kind of like, oh man, like this should have been edited better, but it's a very good story. So if that's the type of thing that bothers you, just be aware of that going in. But it wasn't enough to ruin the story for me, but it is there, so just be aware of that. And the next book that I read this month was called The Beach House. It was also on Kindle Unlimited. It was a short story. I didn't like it at all. Basically, this woman is inheriting a house from her uncle, and she's having to share it with somebody that she doesn't like. And it's just, I don't like that trope. And I didn't like that it was only like 30 pages. It's like, it's not really enough time to make me care about the characters or the story. So I'm like, that one's a big thumbs down for me. I won't be reading anymore from there. And the last book that I read this month was Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. This one I was extremely disappointed in because I have recently gone down the Colleen Hoover rabbit hole. Absolutely love her. I've enjoyed pretty much everything that I read by her, and then there was Hopeless. And I don't know what happened. The dialogue was very cringy. I couldn't stand the dialogue. I did not like the main male character at all. I mean, there was a plot twist that came along probably in the last third of the book that kind of saved it. It bumped it up to a 3 when before it was a 1. So it's like once that revelation comes along and after we start following that, it does improve dramatically. But before that point, it was just like cringy dialogue and slut shaming and just all kinds of horrible stereotypes that I could not get on board with. And it kind of blows my mind because I think this one's a series. And out of all of her works that I've read, this is not one that I would say deserves a series. I might read book 2 just to see if it gets any bit better, or to see if it expands on the plot twist from the end of it that I did enjoy. But unless there is a dramatic improvement, I will not be continuing that series. So, that is all that I have for you guys today. I know that was a big wrap up, but I was proud of this reading month. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so that to make sure you receive all notifications, and follow me on all the social medias listed down in the description for you. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.